Hi, I'm Phil Bainbridge, and in this video, we're going to take a look at how to add permissions to a Google Drive file. So I'm in my usual Google Drive working folder. I've created one particularly for this called Live Coding Add Permissions. All we're going to do is we're going to add a couple of email addresses for editor and commenter access to an existing Google Doc. So in the first instance, let's create a Google Doc that we can play with. I'm going to go to New Google Docs. And I'm just going to call this add permissions template file, just for the purposes of this demo. I'm going to leave the Google Doc open because we'll need to come back and grab the file ID at some point. Back in the Google Drive folder then, we'll do our usual Google Sheet, and that's where we'll put the AppScript code in. So I'm going to go to New Google Sheet. I'm going to call this Live Coding Add Permissions. I'm just going to copy that. So when we go to Extensions and AppScript, I can give that the same title as well. So on the left-hand side, let's rename our file. Let's call it Add Permissions. Let's call our function name the same, Add Permissions. I'm just going to pop my cursor in the middle of those brackets, hit return a few times to give myself some space, and then hit save when you're ready, just to check there are no errors. So in order to add permissions to a file, we need to get hold of the file first. So let's insert a comment with 2 forward slashes, which is get the file ID. We're getting something, so we're going to store it as a variable. So var, and I'm going to call mine file ID. It's up to you if you want a capital I and a capital D. Just as long as you're consistent, it's perfectly fine. Now, in this instance, we're going to put the file ID as a string in between single or double quotes. So I've got my quotes ready there. I'm going to go to the Google Doc that we had open earlier. I'm going to grab the ID from the long URL at the top. I'm going to copy that. And then in there, I'm going to paste it. So it should appear red as a string. Pop my semicolon in and just hit save. That just means we can easily update the file ID as we're playing around with this script in case you wanted to change it. So we need to now get the file itself. So I'm going to insert a comment, which is get the file. We're getting something, so we're storing it as a variable. And I'm just going to call my variable file. So var file equals. We're going to use the Drive app now. Rather than the document app, because it's just a file in Google Drive, and that's how we can add permissions. We don't care particularly if it's a Google Doc or a Google Sheet in this instance. So Drive app dot get file by ID, and if you open up your quotes, your brackets, you'll see it needs the ID as a string. Now we have the ID as a string up here in a variable called file ID. So I'm going to copy that and paste it in like so. Semicolon to end the line, save to check that's happy. Now we'll try 2 permissions here. We'll try a commenter and an editor. So our first comment that we'll type in is add a commenter. I'm just going to pop that in single quotes so we understand it in terms of shared drive permissions. We have the file here. So I'm going to call the file with a full stop, and I can already see some options appearing. We've got add commenter. It's just cutting it off slightly there. So if I start typing add commenter with a capital C, you get the options for singular or plural. Plural means you could provide it with an array of email addresses, but we just want single. Add commenter, 1 email address. So if we open up our brackets, just going to move the screen down slightly so you can see the message there. To add a commenter, it wants the email address as a string. Okay, so just pop that back up. In here then, in between single or double quotes, I'm going to pop one of my email addresses in of a test account that I have. At the same time, because we can add more than one permission in a script, we're going to insert another comment here that is add an editor. So same as above, we have the file, full stop, and we want to add. I'm looking for editor this time. Again, singular, capital E to help filter it out. So pop that there, open my brackets. And again, in single or double quotes, I'm now going to add a different email address. Put my semicolon at the end and hit save. So there, in a couple of lines of code, we've got hold of a file and we've added a commenter and an editor to it. Let's run that and see what happens. So we'll get the authorization pop up because we are introducing the Drive app here and we are wanting to access files and change their permissions. So I'm going to allow that. We didn't put any specific logging in, so the execution will just be a start and a stop, but there shouldn't be any error messages in there. If we go to the actual file itself then and go to share, we should now be able to see the two email addresses that we entered and their permissions that were set in the script. And that's it, all done. Thank you very much.